Luxury cars have always been a status symbol for wealthy individuals who only wanted the best. Today, these cars come in all forms of a Rolls Royce or a Maybach, but back in the day, there were far more luxury car manufacturers than you know. Most of them died out for one reason or another, and we are left with relics of past times that serve as a reminder of just how great the automotive industry was at one point. Today, we will tell you about car companies that no longer exist. 11. Tatra. Tatra Car Company is a Czech manufacturer that started producing cars in 1897. In pre-communist Czechoslovakia, the car industry was pretty strong, and Tatra was one of the upscale manufacturers with very interesting models and engineering. In fact, Ferdinand Porsche reportedly stole one of Tatra's concepts and developed the famous VW Beetle. However, Tatra produced a line of very advanced streamlined limousines powered by water-cooled V8 engines, starting with the pre-war T77 model. After the war, Tatra concentrated on building some of the fastest and most luxurious cars of the Communist Eastern Bloc with an unusual rear engine layout. Very rare in the West, Tatra models were always very respected by the enthusiasts for their specific design and engineering. The production of passenger vehicles stopped in 1999, but Tatra remains active as a truck manufacturer. 10. Hispano-Suiza. Behind this interesting name lies a Spanish luxury brand established in 1904 by a Spanish entrepreneur and a Swiss engineer. The factory was built in Barcelona and soon started producing electric cars and airplane engines. In fact, Hispano-Suiza first became known as an airplane manufacturer and moved to full-time luxury car production after the First World War. The aircraft production standards, perfect engines, and dedication to details separated Hispano-Suiza from the rest of the premium car companies from the era. During the 20s and the 30s, beautiful bodies and powerful engines made Hispano-Suiza popular with the wealthy European customers. However, the outbreak of Spanish Civil War in 1936 stopped the passenger vehicle production, and Hispano dissolved into smaller companies dedicated to the military market. Today, every Hispano-Suiza model is very sought after by collectors. 9. Delage. One of the best-known French luxury car brands was Delage, formed in 1905 in Paris. From the very successful beginnings of this brand, Delage concentrated on producing prestigious road cars and successful racing models. In the first period, Delage produced many four-cylinder models which became popular due to powerful engines and quality manufacturing. In 1930, the company introduced the D6 model with a newly designed six-cylinder engine and soon after, an even more powerful D8 model with a straight eight-cylinder unit. Delage cars were very expensive and were sold with bodies by top coach builders of the era. Despite the relative popularity of the brand and racing success, Delage was in financial trouble and was bought by Delage in 1935. Production stopped during the war and resumed afterwards, but very few cars were built. The factory closed in 1953, and Delage cars, especially D6 and D8, are now regarded as one of the most beautiful models produced in the 30s. 8. Gräf Stift. Austrian luxury brand Gräf Stift started as a bicycle repair shop in Vienna, and in the late 19th century, it turned to car manufacturing. The first models were interesting and advanced with the engine powering the front wheels. Among other car companies in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Gräf Stift soon became the most famous due to advanced design and quality. This company would certainly be forgotten if it weren't for one important historical moment. The 1911 Gräf Stift double phaeton was the car of choice of Archduke Franz Ferdinand during his visit to Sarajevo in 1914 when he and his wife were assassinated. The event led to the First World War, and the dark gray Gräf Stift open car entered many history books as the silent witness to the assassination. 7. Voisin. One of the most interesting French luxury brands was Avions Voisin, which was founded in 1919 by Gabriel Voisin, aircraft engineer, pilot, and designer. Voisin made his fortune producing airplanes for the French army, and after the First World War, he later started producing very sophisticated and luxurious automobiles. His creations were very stylish, with Art Deco details and components, and with very advanced features like automatic gearbox or monocoque chassis construction. Unfortunately, Voisin cars were also very expensive, and not many customers decided to purchase Gabriel's fantastic creations. That is why, in 1939, Avions Voisin closed its doors. Today, Voisin cars, especially the C25 Aerodyne, are landmark examples of 30s design, luxury, and automotive Art Deco styling. 6. Duesenberg. Brothers Fred and August Duesenberg were self-taught engineers and car enthusiasts who started the Duesenberg Car Company in Auburn, Indiana in 1913. The primary goal was to produce engines and race cars, but soon brothers started making luxury cars. In contrast to other American prestigious brands of the period, Duesenbergs were much faster, more powerful, and crazy expensive. The attention to details and quality control were legendary, and every Duesenberg was thoroughly tested before it was delivered to the customer. The milestone of the company was in the early 30s when the Model SJ was introduced. This car could be ordered as a sedan or convertible, and it had a rare supercharged option which boosted the power to 320 horsepower. Try to imagine how unreal 320 horsepower sounded in 1933 when an average car had around 20 horses. Unfortunately, the price of Duesenberg cars was just too high and buyers were harder and harder to find. That is why the company folded in 1937, leaving some of the best and most luxurious cars America and the world had ever seen. 5. Facel Vega. As we have already mentioned, all French luxury car manufacturers were extinct after the Second World War, but in 1954, a rich industrialist, Jean Deninos, decided to reintroduce luxury models to the market. With the experience in car business producing bodies for Ford and Simca, Deninos formed Facel Vega, the new luxury brand. Since the Facel Vega was a small company without resources for producing its own engines, Deninos used Chrysler V8 units, which were relatively cheap and very powerful. With interesting styling, great driving dynamics, and formidable speed, Facel Vega soon proved to be very popular with rich and famous individuals. Actress Ava Gardner had 3 Facel Vegas, and Dean Martin said it was his favorite car. Jean Deninos even produced a fantastic 4-door version called Excellence, but in the early 60s, troubles started. The smaller and cheaper model, Facelia, proved very unreliable and ruined the reputation of the company, which closed in 1964. 4. Hotchkiss. French company Hotchkiss was founded in the late 19th century by American Benjamin Hotchkiss and started as a gun manufacturer. In 1903, Hotchkiss produced its first car, which was well received by the market. The production of arms and military contracts were the main occupation, but in the 1920s and 30s, the car market in France and in Europe grew, and Hotchkiss produced more and more cars, entering the luxury market. Hotchkiss models weren't extravagant roadsters or superb limousines characteristic for the period, but sleek and elegant sedans with lots of power and comfort. Models like Gregoire, 686, or Anjou were praised for their quality and durability. Unfortunately, that didn't help, and car production ceased in 1955, like for many other French luxury car companies. 3. Bristol. The Bristol Car Company was a British high-end manufacturer which was established in 1945. Both founders were involved with the aircraft business at the time, and Bristol used a lot of technology and details from the airplane industry. In the beginning, it used BMW 328 engines, and after they became unavailable, Bristol turned to other sources, mainly to Chrysler and its big V8 units. During the years, Bristol produced several series of hand-built and bespoke Gran Turismo coupes, and a handful of sedans like the Bristol 405. The company was famous for producing outdated luxury coupes and selling 1 or 2 cars per year to extravagant and wealthy customers. But despite having a loyal customer base, the end was inevitable, and Bristol folded in 2011. 2. Pierce Arrow. One of the most famous and long-gone American luxury brands is Pierce Arrow. Started as a truck and engine manufacturer in Buffalo, New York in 1901, Pierce Arrow soon moved to luxury models with great success. Right from the start, the company developed a specific style of its cars with flowing lines, headlights incorporated into front fenders, and wild color choices. Along with Cadillac, Lincoln, Packard, and Duesenberg, Pierce Arrow was representing American industry in the best possible way. The style of Pierce Arrow was always somewhat different than the competitors and more artistic, so the cars were favorites of the musicians and movie stars of the era. But the Great Depression of the late 20s and early 30s killed the brand, and this legendary company ceased to exist in 1938. 1. Jensen. Started in 1934 as a sports car and commercial vehicle manufacturer, Jensen soon proved itself by producing interesting and capable coupes and sedans. After the war, it concentrated on making sports cars, but used components and engines from other manufacturers to reduce the costs. Seeking recognition and customers, Jensen revolutionized the luxury sports car market in 1966 with the introduction of the Interceptor, a high-end coupe with beautiful styling and a powerful Chrysler engine. Even more interesting was the Interceptor FF, which featured all-wheel drive and ABS system, both for the first time in the automotive industry. Unfortunately, technical innovations and great looks weren't enough, and Jensen closed its doors in 1976. Do let us know in the comments if you know any of these brands. Thanks for watching!